Okay, if you're just pricing your video editing work per edit, you're likely leaving a lot of money on the table. And let me explain what I mean by this, because recently I had a conversation with a friend and a former colleague who I used to work with, and he was saying that he's started his video editing business, mostly focusing on organic content and YouTube. And he's worked on YouTube for many years now, so he knows what he's doing. The quality of his work is really high. He's reliable, etc., etc. He knows his stuff. And he was saying that he was approached by a prospect, and when he said his per edit video fee per unit, they kind of balked and were a bit hesitant, and the project didn't move forward. And he was charging €1,000 for this edit, and this is, I think, sort of typical 10 to 15 minute YouTube edit with all the trimmings. And I asked him, well, how did you communicate that? Like, why did they say it was too expensive? Like, what did you communicate that they would get? And he was like, oh, well, the edit and the motion graphics that are required, maybe some B-roll, the usual, a YouTube edit with all the trimmings. And I asked what the problem was, and he said, this client, this company were used to spending maybe $250, $300, $400 on an edit max, usually working with editors in lower income economies. And he was a bit nonplussed by this. And I kind of just said, well, how did you communicate the value of your edit for $1,000? How did you communicate what extra they were getting for that price? And then we kind of got into the weeds of it a little bit. And he had just pitched the kind of the video edit. Okay, it's €1,000 for an edit. This is what you get. One feedback round, all the trimmings, motion graphics, etc., etc. And I say, but that's not what they're getting. You've got like 6-7 years plus experience now creating these videos and working on multiple brand channels for companies with YouTube in mind. They're getting so much more than just the edit. And what do I mean by that? Well, so clients, yeah, they might be used to cheaper options, but he was just pricing the individual edit and not the actual collaboration. And this is really important here because a lot of editors, particularly kind of junior mid-level editors, don't necessarily think about the client experience when they're pricing their work or communicating value. They just focus on, okay, well, this is going to take me 3 or 4 days work, say, upwards of 24 hours to complete to a high degree. I'll charge for my time. This is what an individual video costs. But once you've built up a bit of a portfolio and a little bit of experience, you can actually start to sell your processes and your collaborations as well as part of this package. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you've worked in editing for a number of years, and I'm not saying this is a fast track way to get ahead or anything, but just in terms of for your own planning, you build up a lot of soft skills. So it's not just the hard skills of the actual edit and the quality there within. You build up a range of soft skills. So you build up strong communication skills typically. I'm just going to take this as we go. You learn how to onboard stakeholders and new clients efficiently and to a high degree of quality, so everyone knows what they're doing and what the project's involving. You get better at project planning. So, who needs to be where, at what time, doing what are the resources you need, what's the budget for this, do you need props, that kind of thing. You learn more about the outcomes, the actual business impact that your videos produce, and you can communicate that to clients and the ROI of video work. You make efficiencies in your workflows. So you might be using the same kind of brand pack or motion graphics pack across multiple clients, changing things out like colors and typography. But once you've made that work and done it up front once, you can reuse that again and again. And then ultimately, if you want, pass those savings on to your client. You also build experience naturally, but not just experience with video editing, experience with all these soft skills. And importantly, and this is a big one with video editing, you develop quality control and an eye and taste and a sense of taste for what you want to do and what good looks like. And that does take years to come. Cheaper editors that come into the market charging $150, $200, $300 a video. They might catch the eye of some kind of thrifty founders or small startups, but the quality control, it's often very lacking, to say it politely. So you really do build an eye for detail and build a taste around your work. And there's also the convenience factor. If you get a little bit more savvy, you're not just delivering a video edit, but you can also upsell to that client. You can throw in the upload process, the description, the transcripts, the thumbnails. I think the thumbnails are quite a big one that you can actually productize and sort of staple onto your package offerings. So he had all these things that he'd experienced with over the years that he hadn't really factored into the price. And the price is one thing, €1,000 is €1,000. If that client felt that was too expensive for them, that's fine. But maybe if they'd seen him showcase this thinking and all these processes and soft skills, it might have been a bit different. And how would you have done that? Well, you would have shown your process. So if you show your process, you're talking about your work online, you're talking about how you work with clients, what it's like to experience working with you as a client, how you work, what kind of the quality of your work is. All these kind of things can be packaged up into showing your process online. And what does that look like actually, sort of in a tangible way? Well, for me, that looks like making content. And this is one of the biggest ones on this list. But making content on platforms like LinkedIn, maybe Instagram, perhaps YouTube as well. I think LinkedIn is a big one for business owners generally looking for talent and creative support. But you make content around the work that you're doing. And I know that sounds a bit vacuously, it's easy enough to say, but how you make videos, how you approach projects, what your creative process is like, how you set up your cameras, how you develop a project management system for clients, how you onboard clients, all these things that you kind of take for granted as a creative, and perhaps you're a freelancer, maybe you're working in-house. All these things that you kind of take for granted are a massive selling point. And I think that's something that's often undersold, and it's certainly something I've been guilty of in my career, that you have all these soft skills that you've kind of developed over the years that are kind of floating around in your head, how you work, what your taste is like, what your eye for quality is like. And often they don't get documented, they don't get showcased, so people don't know. And when you come along and say it's €1,000 for an edit, they will kind of maybe feel uncomfortable with that price point. Maybe they think they can get it cheaper elsewhere. But if you've not done the upfront work and made content around your process and around how you work, they're never going to know. So that's the big one for me. I'm going to put a little asterisk here. The next one is networking, getting out to events. Maybe there's like videographer meetups in your town or city. Maybe there's marketing events and meetups, and people would be looking for video content creators to help them with their business, push a certain product or service that they're offering or launching. Maybe they need some video work done for their course, or a VSL or performance ads or YouTube content. Getting out there and networking and talking about what you do, but also being exposed to people that are kind of running these businesses or thinking in that kind of way, really helps you form your offer and forms your package of how you present your work and what you want to charge for it. And then there's obviously collaborate. So this is another one, but maybe a bit more nebulous, but like working with other creators and freelancers, or creative, will elevate your work. If you're working with people maybe a step or two below you, you can help train them up and lift them up and share your experience. And also surrounding yourself with people that are maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. So someone that is charging €1,000 for a video, or is charging €3,000 for a video. And maybe they're not just charging for the edit. Maybe it's like a full stack approach where they're charging for the marketing research and the project management and the thumbnails and the general creative as a fuller package than just a video edit. Being around those people exposes you to ideas and ways of working that you wouldn't necessarily get exposed to otherwise. And I think that's a really undervalued skill, especially if you're looking to increase your fees and such. Building case studies as well. This is another way that you can kind of tie all this in. You can kind of showcase your work, document it. Maybe it's a small written case study, maybe it's a video piece, like some kind of show reel. But building case studies and getting into the mindset of your clients and your prospects. What does a business person care about? They don't necessarily care about how much stuff is happening on screen, what the motion graphics are like, what the typeface is that you're using. They want to know if that content converts, if it generates the leads, or if it can generate revenue for their business, like real tangible business impact further down the line. And if you can if you show work that is framed in that language, and you're speaking the language of your potential clients from a business perspective, and building out that business vocabulary, that really does pay dividends further down the line in the future. So building case studies and presenting your work in a professional way, but through the lens of what a business owner would actually care about, is vital. And then lastly, all this ties into just being visible, like being visible online, showing your work, as I mentioned back here, show your process. Being able to show your work and being visible puts you ahead of 95% of other creatives and freelancers and business owners, because a lot of people just don't bother to do this stuff. A lot of people just sit around complaining that they can't charge €1,000 for an edit, but don't really take on the extra work. But but don't really take on that extra work in the short term, at least, just to get ahead. And yeah, you go on LinkedIn and you see people sharing like sort of Alex Hormozy style reels and thumbnails and such, but really behind it all, they're just making pretty graphic design pieces and pretty videos online. They're not actually thinking about the business case. And oftentimes the work, once you dig into it or start collaborating with them, isn't to that high degree of quality anyway. So I guess my wider point is here, if you want to start charging €1,000 for an edit and your clients are saying that they normally pay 300, you need to pitch the collaboration and pitch the experience of working with you, and tie all this stuff into the experience, into that kind of €1,000 bundle per video, and communicate that to them. And so that's what I kind of said to him in the office when we were chatting about this. And it'll be interesting to see what he goes on to do. But I just wanted to make this video because I really do feel that this channel, I want it to be somewhere that's kind of organic and just a stream of consciousness. Yes, maybe there's some annotations, some iPad stuff, but stuff that comes to me around the creative editing process. That having worked in it myself now for 8 years, I run an agency, a YouTube marketing agency. So I work with a lot of freelancers, a lot of editors, and have done over my career. I just want to make this stuff to try and help you get ahead. And I think when I have conversations like this, I realize that there's actually quite a lot that, to me, after doing this for 8-9 years, feels a little bit more obvious. But to someone that's building a business and looking to charge that €1,000 for an edit, it's maybe not so obvious. So if I can help in some small way with videos like this and you find them engaging, please give the video a like, maybe drop a comment, let me know what you want to see next on the channel. And yeah, I can't promise you that this is going to be super high retention editing or anything. It's just going to be me and an iPad, maybe a pad of paper, because that's how I want to make videos. I don't want to make videos that just, stuff happening every 10, 15 seconds. It's 2-3 seconds even. I just want to make stuff that I feel is valuable, that I would maybe like to have experienced or had access to when I was starting out. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.